Right. So you'll excuse the lack of any moving video. I'm taping this from my GPS, and of course, my GPS is the camera's facing the dashboard. So anyway, so I'm gonna start a TED Talk on my radio. I have a Volvo Bluetooth stereo, but this happens no matter what device I'm using. So anyway, let's hope that the skips and pops come, because I'd like to show you what's actually happening. So this video is my Essential PH-1 phone, streaming Bluetooth audio to my truck, and this is the issue that I'm experiencing. So just bear with me. Okay.
To add to this, one of the kinds of person that you need for industrialization as an engineer really in short supply on the continent. If you compare, for example, the number of engineers that those same Asian countries had a couple of decades ago when they were industrializing, we fall far short. And I've taught for a while, and many of the students who are studying engineering end up actually working in auditing firms and banks, and many of them spend half their time doing accounting and so on as their parent. Now, I was fortunate enough to do my undergrad and postgrad education in the UK and the US, in countries, environments where there was all the equipment that you required, all the sophistication in the systems. And then I worked for about 3 years in Japan doing R&D for a large firm. And so I was very used to having good equipment, and went back home and joined the Faculty of Engineering at the University of Nairobi, wanting to contribute and be on the continent. And I quickly found I was really quite useless, because there wasn't all the equipment that I'd become accustomed to available. And I was teaching students who I would find very bright ideas in their minds, and they'd be presenting things that I knew if only we had sufficient equipment, they'd be able to really contribute to the challenge of industrialization. So I kind of had to change hats and became quite entrepreneurial and started looking for money to buy the equipment that we required. And I heard about a concept out of MIT called the Fab Labs. These are digital fabrication labs that allow, in a rather small space with not very expensive equipment, people to have access to these tools to be able to make almost anything, as the slogan goes. And so I was able to convince a government official to buy one of these for the university where I was teaching. And immediately we had wonderful results. We saw all kinds of innovations coming through. And for the first time in this context of the university, students from different disciplines were doing, engineering students that is, were doing their lab and practical exercises together in the same space. Normally they'd be siloed. And not just that, but students who weren't engineers at all were also working in the same space. And non-students, people who had nothing to do with the university, were also in this space. So you had this rich mix of people who think differently from one another, and this always is really good for innovation. So I was really proud of what we were seeing happening. So you can imagine my surprise when one day the Dean of Engineering came and said to me, Kamau, the students who spend most of the time in the Fab Lab are failing their exams. I said, what do you mean? And I looked into it, and he was right. And the reason they were failing is that they'd honed their skills so well in certain things that they were going out into the city and offering services for money. So they were making money. And they therefore weren't focusing on their studies. And I thought, what a good problem to have. Don't quote me on that, I'm an academician. So we needed to scale this, and at the university things were a bit too bureaucratic, and so I moved out and I hooked up with people who in Nairobi were providing spaces for IT experts to share fast internet and things like that. And some of these spaces are really quite famous. They've made Kenya famous for IT. And together we set up a space which we're setting up right now. We've moved from where we were. We're in a much larger space, and we're sort of making available a wide range of equipment, including the digital fabrication tools that I mentioned and analog tools, to anybody really on a membership basis. It's a bit like a gym. So you come in, you pay, you get taught how to use the equipment, innovate and do whatever it is that you want, and you don't have to be an engineer necessarily. And some of the people in the space setting up a small company, they just need a space at a desk, and so we provide that at a fee. And others take up bigger spaces and are able to set up. They're further along, maybe they've got a company that's been running for a certain period of time. And so we're able to accommodate all of this in an innovation space that is really quite active. What you're seeing in this image over here is Douglas, and Douglas is an electrical engineer, one of the people who was really active in the Fab Lab. I think he passed his exams, pretty sure he did. And the image on the top left is a copper sheet. And he designed a circuit that the client came to him and said, I need this circuit for a pay-as-you-go system. And so this is a model for business that's made accessibility to goods and service for very poor people really much easier, because they're able to pay a little bit, like $1 a day, for example, for a specific service. And so this company wanted to pilot a new idea that they have, and so they just need 50 circuits, so they hired him to make them. And what you're seeing him doing there is he's able to design on the computer what the circuit will be, and then transfer it through an etching process.
Okay, now I have to pause this because I gotta pay a toll. So I'm just gonna pause the audio while I do that, and then we'll come back to it. Bear with me, please. I appreciate your patience. I hope you enjoy the TED Talk, though. Hey, buddy. Thank you. Alright, thank you for bearing with me. We'll go back to the talk.
Circuits. So they hired him to make them. And what you're seeing him doing there is he's able to design on the computer what the circuit will be, and then transfer it through an etching process, that's the image on the top right, and then populate the board using this robot. And so what would normally take him maybe a day or something to solder by hand, he can do in a few minutes using this machine. So he was able to complete the entire order within Gearbox, and this is really important, because if it wasn't for what we provided right now, he would have had to have hired a company in China to do this. And because it's such a small order, it would have taken a long time. It would be a small company, because big companies wouldn't take small orders. And even then, if they got a bigger order, they'd bump him off in favor of that. And there's language problems and so on. So being able to do it in country is really very important. And of course, piloting as a phase within the progress of the business idea is extremely important, because you can go back and make corrections and so on. In this image, thank you. In this image here on the top left, what you're looking at is a 3D render of a digital fabrication machine. In this instance, it doubles as a plasma cutter and also a wood router. And so the plasma cutter makes possible the cutting of plate and sheet metal, and basically you make a design on the computer and send it over to the machine, and then very quickly and precisely it's able to cut as one. But in this particular machine, you can also do change plasma cutter and put on a spindle, and then you can carve wood as well. So this was designed by my head of engineering. His name is Rashida. And when I hired him about 2 years ago, I asked him, just give me 2 years, and by the time you've trained a lot of people so that we have good staff under you, then you can move out and become a good story for our space. And that's exactly happened. He's got two types of customers. The higher tier customer is a company that's actually using his machine to cut sheet metal for Isuzu truck fabrication in Nairobi, which is being done by General Motors. So we're proud to be able to say that we have an original equipment manufacturer in Nairobi that was to be an industrial robot to supply parts for General Motors. Now this is really important. And it's really important because the population growth being what it is, a lot of very companies are looking very closely at the market that's developing in Africa. So in Kenya right now we have Volkswagen, Renault, we have Mercedes doing lorries, and we've also got Toyota. And these are all manufacturers planning to assemble vehicles, and in the future to manufacture. Many of them are planning to train lots of people that they'd hire, and that's really important for the economy. But when the magic really happens, when these companies begin to buy their parts that they need for the vehicles from local companies. So supply chain development is something that's very important for us to be able to pivot and to have very productive economies, and that's something we're focused on at our space. This other image shows another class of customer that he has. In the top left, you have these people who are actually using very crude tools.
Okay, I paused it. I'm going to stop the video now because I would think that you would get the idea of what's happening. But just so we're sure, just so we're in full disclosure here, On battery power, the screen is off. There are 3 Bluetooth devices connected. One would be my Bluetooth headset, the BT350XL from Blue Parrot. I also have my Samsung Galaxy Gear S2 Classic paired, and of course I have the Volvo radio paired as well. I also use a set of headphones that are not paired and also not in the device list at the moment when I'm out walking around or shopping, and the skip happens on those two. So thank you for your patience. I know this was a rather long video, but I hope this just helps to illuminate what's happening with my phone. Thank you.